Imagine a vibrant discussion between people that includes both openness and critical thought in the pursuit of truth. The Purchasing Truth podcast is an experience, a journey, an exploration of the impact that negative messages in politics and the media have on our families, community, society, and nation. Join your hosts, Bill Stierle and Tom Hazard, to discover new concepts and language strategies that will reveal effective ways of establishing truth. This podcast series will tackle current events, leadership challenges, healthcare confusion, integrity in business, and many other areas that affect us all. Gain clarity and understanding of the various truth perspectives. Welcome to Purchasing Truth.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Purchasing Truth. I'm Tom Hazard, along with your host, Bill Stierle. And Bill, the elephant in the room is really the first presidential debate, which just took place shortly before we're recording this. And I got to tell you, that was very hard to watch, wasn't it?
Right.
It was very hard to watch. And, you know, there are obviously many things we can talk about, and we will talk about today about, you know, well, were there any parts of the debate that achieved anything that either candidate wanted to? But, you know, the big issue that continues to be talked about is the format of the debate, how, you know, President Trump certainly, for the most part, ignored the rules and was incessantly interrupting Joe Biden. And Joe Biden did interrupt him a little bit as well, but I think he was really just it was from a defensive place, trying to get a word in edgewise. But I'm very curious, Bill, in that situation, if you were Joe Biden, is there anything you could have done to get Trump to stop interrupting so much and to accomplish something? I'm curious what that would have been.
Yes. It's really, these are some of the most unsettling moments that I experience as a communications expert and specialist, is that they actually don't have the right people on their team. And that's the thing that's really unsettling to me. I would figure that they would do a better job at what to say at the worst things that he could say back to him. See, when I go into a high conflict mediation, the first thing I do before I go in is I make a list of what is the worst things that people could say in the room. And then what am I going to respond back to that? Regrettably, they might have had that discussion. What are the things that Trump is going to say, and what do you say back to that? But what they don't have is how to get in front of it. They are approaching it from the place of explanation, problem solving, that don't work in a conflict situation. He is a high conflict individual. He is the high conflict individual.
I think that's obvious. Yeah.
He's a high conflict individual. He develops and causes and activates conflict, which is conflict is a very limbic brain kind of thing. It activates the fight, flight, and freeze. He's stirring the pot in order to create the stir that's needed. See, each one of his professional escalations have all about creating revenue and relevance and revenue. He creates relevance and revenue for himself. And the way he does it is through conflict. So if The Apprentice is done and his ratings are getting low and he's and his golf courses are moving down regarding revenue, he needs to bring his professional status up. So he's going to take any opportunity to do that. And you can literally track that with how he used media during the presidential campaign in 2016 to promote his website, his golf course. I mean, literally, you can just watch. He's promoting a golf course. He promotes his appearance of this. So let's get back to the question you asked me. What can Biden say or do to actually get him to be quiet?
Yeah. Well, I'm curious. I'm ready. Yeah. I want to hear it. What
I want the listeners to be ready too. That's called creating a pause in order to create listening, by the way. That's an important technique that Biden could use, and going like, let me think about that for a moment. Are you going for fairness right now? And you like to talk about fairness for a second? Now, Trump has to say yes to that. So President Trump, are you talking about acknowledgement right now? You would like some acknowledgement for what you did? Trump has to say yes. So President Trump, you'd really like some recognition for the job that you did? Is that what you'd like? Yes. And you would like recognition to focus on that you shut the country down the way you did? You would like recognition for that? Yes. You're trying to take his talking points away from him. So Biden is trying to prove that his talking points aren't valid instead of taking his talking points away from him. That's what Joe Biden could have done differently. Take the talking points away from President Trump. Take his talking points away. In mediation, it's agreeing with the thought that the person says versus proving the thought that they have is true or not. Stop pursuing truth.
Well, there was no truth to be had there.
That's why you stop pursuing truth.
Yeah.
Because you stop pursuing truth, and then he not only wins the debate, but he looks like the only sane person on the stage, which he is, but that's not what's important, is to prove that he's the only sane person on stage. Now, in my judgmental voice that I just did called sane person on the stage, I also want to have compassion and empathy for Trump's strategy in which he uses, which is distraction, so he doesn't have to talk about difficult things. You don't want to talk about difficult things. He doesn't want to talk about the loss of life of Joe Biden's son being someone that sacrificed his life for America. He don't want to talk about that. He wants to talk about the struggles that his other son, Hunter, had about drugs.
Which he did. He, in a question that had nothing to do with Hunter, it was really about Beau Biden. Trump immediately said, well, I didn't know Beau, but I know Hunter.
I know Hunter.
Yeah.
It's like, well, all you're doing is activating the limbic brain of your followers. It's like, yeah, you're using Beau as a distraction. It's like, no, I'm not. See, the thing Biden could say to him is like, so you would like us to focus on Hunter rather than focusing on the sadness of the loss that we have as Americans of the soldiers. You would like, no, you don't want to talk about soldier loss. You would rather talk about how my son Hunter was successful in overcoming his drug use. So, okay, so let's talk about how Hunter was successful at that. And then most of Americans who are struggling with addiction right now could really learn from Hunter's experience about how to overcome drug abuse. So you'd like to talk about how Americans are struggling about drug abuse? What he could do is actually shift the conversation to Hunter did pretty good about drug abuse. And you know what? That's another part of our economy that we need to deal with, don't we? In other words, he's looking like the person that is paying attention to the listener. It's like, oh gosh, you'd like to really talk about Hunter. Okay, I'll talk about Hunter. Here's how Hunter was successful.
So I hear what you're saying, Bill, and that sounds very good. But don't you think that Trump is not just going to say yes to those things and then wait for Joe to then say the next thing? He's going to say yes and immediately go off on some other tirade related to the subject. Not worried
about that. So I'll pretend I'm Trump and watch what happens. Yes, Hunter had drug problems. Well, thank you for noticing that. Many Americans have drug problems, and he was very successful at that. Wait a minute, let me do both hands. Okay, so Trump says the sentence, yeah, but he got $3 million from the Russians. Oh, so you are trying to promote a story that you heard from social media, and many of us know that social media stories aren't fully true. So you're trying to promote that story? Yes. Oh, so would you be willing to check the facts on that? Because I'm not, and it doesn't look like that's really true, but it sounds like you're promoting another social media false story. Huh?
Well, that's what you're promoting. Don't you think Trump would just say, Joe, everybody knows it. Joe, everybody knows. That's what Trump says. Everybody knows. Okay.
So you would like social media and what people report on social media, all of social media, to be true. We know that we're having trouble on truth in social media. Isn't that right? Yes. So this is really a discussion about social media and the inaccuracy of facts. Is that what you'd like to talk about? Using Trump's stream of consciousness is where Biden will win next time. Not fighting his stream of consciousness, but using his stream of consciousness.
Well, I hear you, Bill, and I agree. Using his stream of consciousness, if you can, if Biden were skilled at, empathy and going with those,
you got to be
streams.
You got to be compassionate. Mm-hmm. You got to be compassionate to that. You can't fight it.
I mean, I think Joe is compassionate. He's very patient. I just don't think he has the skill. He doesn't have the awareness of what that would do, right? To go with it. And
very, very hard for him to not have awareness about that.
But the other thing is that, they're actually not supposed to address each other and ask each other questions. The moderator is supposed to ask questions. If each of them is supposed to answer, this would be quiet while the others.
Let me see if I got this. Let me see if I got this belief structure right. So you have the belief that there's going to be some organization that is going to set up a set of rules. And then you have a belief that Trump is going to listen to those rules and then agree to those rules. And then most certainly you have a belief that he's going to follow those rules. Well, I feel very doubtful and skeptical that he's going to follow any kind of formatting that they're going to come up, even cutting his mic off or even doing these strategies. That's not where Biden needs to go. He cannot look to outside people to help him in debating this from the structural rules, because Trump is about languaging, rule breaking in order to gain respect and recognition and acknowledgement, going like, hey, this is my opinion. Wait a minute, this is my opinion. This is what's right because it's my opinion. And Trump has been such a successful person in getting people to pay attention to him and raising his brand identity to a position called respect, that there are people throughout this nation that says, yeah, I'm with him because he speaks up, and he's speaking up for the voiceless person like me.
So is there no way that Biden could parent Donald Trump in that situation and get him to acknowledge what the rules are and that he, for the good of the nation, should actually adhere to the rules? Or is that just a complete waste of time?
Yeah, it's a complete waste of time to get him to adhere to the rules, but he can parent him through empathy. Joe is a very sympathetic person, but not a very empathetic person. He is empathetic about maybe 20 or 30% of the time. At his core, he thinks he's empathetic about 70% of the time, but really it's more sympathetic than empathetic. And you and I could get, actually we've done like 2 different podcasts on the difference between empathy and sympathy. But the language of sympathy is very different than the language of empathy. Most of the time people talk about empathy, but really they're talking about sympathy. Sympathy might sound like putting yourself in someone else's shoes. That's a sympathetic moment. That's not an empathetic moment. An empathetic moment is actually connecting to the need that was lost inside the other person. Where Joe Biden wins in the landslide is his ability to move his language away from sympathy and into empathy in a more stronger way. And when Trump interrupts him, he needs to turn to Trump and be empathetic towards him. That's when it gets really interesting really quick, because I don't know, you may have noticed this, Tom, as a parent. If your 9-year-old, I think she's 9 now, or
11 actually. I have a 6-year-old, 6-year-old and 11-year-old. Yeah. 6-year-old.
Okay. See, I'm between the two of them. I knew you had 2. So your 6-year-old or 11-year-old, any time of them, they're freaking out, explaining to them doesn't work, does it?
No.
So here he's freaking out and looking for a moment where he can throw sand in the gears Biden's conversation with America. And he's looking for throwing sand in the gears. All I got to do is throw enough sand in this guy's gears, and I will be able to distract, deflect, disrupt his narrative, because it's quite frankly a boring narrative. And I need a escalating narrative in order to demonstrate my style of, I'm going to call it leadership, but it's actually my style of expression. I am going to express this thing. All right. So here's a takeaway that is going to upset people when they hear me say it. There are times when actually President Trump was actually scoring points and actually winning the narrative and winning the debate by certain things that he said and did. And here's some things that Joe Biden can do next time. So let's do those.
Okay.
All right. In the narrative of selling and in the narrative of marketing, you've got to activate dopamine inside the body. And for those who are listening, I have my 3 fingers up and I'm wiggling them at Tom. And Tom, you and I have been over this a bunch of the time, but it's very, very important for us to do this right now in regards to the debate. There are designed sentences that Trump repeats over and over again to activate the dopamine system inside his listeners. They don't know he's doing it. And more importantly, Joe Biden doesn't know that he's doing it. And more importantly, media doesn't know that he's doing it. Here's what he does. He creates a reward, real or imagined. A reward, a statement of success, a statement of recognition and acknowledgement. He creates the statement. Nobody has ever had an economy like we had. That's called a statement of recognition. It's a reward sentence. The listener is going to listen from 2 positions. Is this true or is this not true? The people that are saying that it's not true, because it's not numerically activated, are going to go down the path of liar, or this person's not being honest. That's what they're going to do. The person that is believing in him is going to say, yeah, I'm not looking at the numbers. Because my guy is saying it's true, it must be true. So regrettably, truth is being purchased by this initial reward sentence. Then Trump follows that with an anticipation sentence. We were just getting to the place where we were going to work on unification. Just getting to the place when we are working on unification. That's called an anticipatory sentence. He has now made a promise, great nation, and made a place. We're working on the place towards unification. Whether it's true or not, the brain cannot tell the difference inside his voters. Yeah, he's going to work on unification during the next 4 years. That sentence, one sentence, secured his base. In the debate, he said that sentence. I want to let you know, media is not looking at that as being truthful, and therefore they're calling it false, and they're not actually saying, here's the promise that he made, and this is why his voters are going to continue to vote for him, and people not wanting to mess with what they voted for in the past fully.
So is that similar to when Trump talked about healthcare?
Right.
Didn't he do the same thing pretty much? He just rolled out the same statement about, we're going to have the best healthcare. We've got a plan. I mean, there was things that all Biden could do is say, you don't have a plan. And he's saying, yes, I have a plan. And that doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. Instead of doing what Biden needs to do is turn over all the cards instead of saying what he did, you don't have a plan. Here's what I would have coached Biden to say. Oh, you're creating a moment of anticipation. Now watch. Boy, that is the best marketing and sales strategy. I am so glad that you're bringing this marketing and sales strategy out in the middle of this debate so that we actually can see if the product is real or not. Gosh, I wonder when you're going to deliver this product. I guess it's going to be similar to Trump steaks or similar to Trump things that the product is the best thing possible. But you know what? You are the best seller ever. And you're selling the American public that there's going to be a really great Republican healthcare plan. And regrettably, they've really never offered anything over the last 16 years that I've noticed. They're really not interested in doing that because their people are not really fully interested. The Republicans that are in charge aren't really interested in that because the people that are funding them are just interested in keeping it status quo because they make the most money there. Well, I guess it's an interesting marketing strategy that you're sharing with everybody right now. I'd rather go that's something that's written down that's going to take the nation forward, but it seems like that you're really not fully interested in that. See the difference?
Yeah, Trump wouldn't know. Whatever he says after that, he's just going to be tripping over himself.
That's correct. That's correct. So that's the thing that's really, really, really unsettling is you've got to be able to pull the curtain back. So one of the things that's really valuable, one of the things that's really helpful is that we can call a marketing or sales strategy out in the middle of a debate and Trump will have no place to stand.
Yeah, just shine some light on it, huh?
Shine a light on it.
Yeah.
Because he is a marketing and sales guy. He's a brand guy. A brand guy doesn't have to deliver on the promise. They just have to make the promise.
See, even that statement right there is very interesting. You know, sort of
You
pulling the curtain back from the wizard, pulling the levers behind the curtain.
That's
If
right.
Joe could do that, that'd be brilliant. Okay.
All he has to do, all Joe's got to do is keep pulling the curtain back. Oh my gosh, that's the best branding sentence ever. Gosh, look at that marketing sentence that you did. Look at that sales sentence that you did. You know, that's an interesting way to sell what you're selling. Regrettably, there's really not a product behind what you're selling, but really that's an important sales sentence. And now I can see why Make America Great Again worked so effectively for you against Hillary Clinton, because you were really doing a great job at selling something that really you didn't really have.
Wow. Yeah, right there. Oh,
and you sit in flat-footed and go like, what do you mean I didn't have it? I got the text cut. Yeah, boy, you really got the text cut for those rich people that paid for your campaign. And you know what? That's why you raise money, is because those people really give you $100,000 so you can save them $1 million in taxes. That just doesn't sound fair for most Americans. And regrettably, most Americans vote, and there's not enough rich people to vote if Americans get mad enough at what you're doing to the country. Gosh, I think Americans are kind of mad about fairness. I think the mandate's going to fall on my side because they're mad about fairness not taking place. Gosh, I wonder what they're going to do at the polling places. You know, you're really going to need to get rid of more mailboxes like you tried to do in things. You got to get rid of more mail machines, I think.
So what would you say if you were Biden to where Trump said the ballots are a disaster?
Oh, I am so glad that you mentioned that the ballots are a disaster. But you really never did anything to fix that. Actually, what you did was have your guy disassemble machines. Why didn't he say that in the debate? You see how I'm exasperated right now?
Yes.
I'm holding my head and I'm going like, Biden, he gave you the in to talk about the mailboxes coming out and the machines being disassembled by his guy. Yeah, I guess what you did was, instead of fixing the problem with the ballots to make it fair for everybody, what you did was just make it fair for yourself. And now you get to prove the thing that you're saying because you created the crisis that you're talking about now. Wow, you're a great marketer and seller because you're actually creating the problem that you're going to pretend to solve. That is the best marketing and sales piece that you've ever done. I'm amazed at the lengths that you go to market and sell your ideas. Boy, I think most Americans can see through this, but we'll have to see on the vote when it comes out, because as somebody that's looking at this, I'm just noticing that what genius that you're actually doing. You are a genius in marketing and sales. You're just not a genius in providing leadership and fairness inside a country that's calling itself a democracy. I guess democracy is going to need to win on this one, because otherwise you're doing the similar things that authoritarians do. Not to say that you're authoritarian or anything like that, but really what you're doing is something similar that those countries would do. But we'll have to see how the votes are going to land on my side or not, and we'll have to see what Americans would like.
Wow.
This type of powerful response is called scary honesty. It's scary honesty of the debate is that you can't tell somebody to shut up, stop talking. I want to say something now. You're going to crack up. Tom, what do you tell, if you tell your kids to shut up, do they? No. If you tell anyone, if you told your employee to shut up, to get in line, oh my God, you cannot do that. The employee will follow it, but they will rebel by doing less work. They will rebel by looking for a new job. They will rebel by taking your IP out for a spin to some other location. You cannot tell somebody else to shut up. Oh, shut up, man. Oh my gosh. And another thing I have several rants here, but here's another rant. I want to just like my head wants to explode on this rant. Okay, here it is.
Okay.
There is a key phrase that Biden says that he can never say again.
Uh-oh.
Here's the key phrase.
All right.
You know what the deal is? He said it 7 times or thereabouts.
Yeah.
5
well,
to
he
7
always
times.
says like, here's the deal, or look, he always like it's gonna.
Here's the deal. Look.
Yeah.
Guess what? Who is the person who wrote the book, Art of the Deal?
Yeah.
He's handing him points.
Well, but Trump isn't really realizing it and doing anything with it that he could,
No, he is not. He is not pulling up, because if he listens to this podcast, he could then say, if his team listen to this podcast, the next time he says deal, you get to say right back to him. And that's why I wrote the book, Art of the Deal, because I am the deal maker. And Biden has just lost 300,000 votes.
Right.
That's all he's got to do. Now, we'll have to see who picks up on this thing.
Well, is there
So-
anything that you thought Joe Biden did that was effective? I mean, you said, here, what Trump did was effective, obviously, with his messaging and talking points, and obviously what Biden could do to deal with Trump and his not following the rules, to go with him with empathy. But did Biden do anything that was effective?
Yeah, there were 3 things that he did were effective. First thing that's at the top of the list that he did is effective is stare at the camera and said, "Listen, you Americans."
I thought that was very effective too when I saw it.
Very effective.
Yeah.
Very effective. The second thing he did that was effective was when he was interrupting him, he did his best to finish the sentence that he was going to complete and ignore the chatter. Now, eventually he stopped doing that, and that was not as effective.
Right. I think Trump interrupting so much sort of threw off his train of thought to an extent too. I mean, it would me.
Yeah. Because when somebody says a non-truth, and I'm holding my hand up to my ear right now and making it as the squawky talker, right? When the need for truth isn't being met here, human beings have a natural tendency to face it in a fight response. Now, what I would coach Biden to do next time is turn and face it with an empathetic phrase. It's something that I do in mediation all the time. It's somebody gives me the next point I need to talk about, and I need to face it right then so it's not a distraction. So you would like me to hear about Hunter. We're going to talk about Hunter in a second, but right now I want to talk about Bo and his sacrifice as a soldier in the Americans. See, he cut him off of talking about the Bo story because he wanted him to talk about the mishigash around Hunter and getting paid for a job that he was an advisor on.
Right.
Because I mean, that's a part of it. And Hunter actually dealt with that pretty good. He goes, yeah, I've gotten some benefits about being my father's son, as many Americans get benefits about having parents that are a very strong leader. That would be another thing that I would probably say, you know what? It's good that our kids get to learn from us.
Well, and if you were Biden, wouldn't you say, just like your children have gotten a benefit from you being their father, because 2 of your children work at the White House and they would not work there if you were not their father. You're right. I mean, can't you pivot that to
that's correct. That's exactly what it
you take
right.
the Hunter Biden compensation off the table.
Like I said, yeah. And I wonder what your kids are getting paid for working at the White House. The records show that your kids get paid this. Isn't
Well,
it great that
and-
parents can
and
contribute to their kids?
right, just like your tax records show that you paid Ivanka $700,000 to be a consultant and took a deduction on that, even though she was already an employee of the company. And then you're going to take this, all the stuff about Hunter goes away quickly.
Yeah, gosh. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Gosh, that is great. And as a parent, you really want to give money to your kids, right? Yeah. Oh, great. You mean like Ivanka? You gave her $700,000. That's an awesome salary. I wonder what she did that was so valuable for $700,000. Oh, my kid is really talented. Great. So you have a thought that your kid's talented and my kid's not talented? Oh, yeah, that's an interesting thought. Shall we do an inventory of children right now?
Then that's going to seem, like it's just a grade
trite.
school fight. Yeah.
Grade school fight. Yeah, but I really like to. I don't think Americans are as much interested in how we pay our kids as much as, or how our kids get paid, as much as protecting them as a public servant from getting sick. I think Americans are more interested in that. I think Americans are more interested in their financial well-being with a crashed economy because we didn't protect ourselves. That's what I think Americans do. I think Americans would like the government to protect them from a disease rather than think it's going to go away. That's what I think. But if people don't think that and they want to go for wishful thinking, let them vote for you because you're the king of wishful thinking.
Oh, that would be beautiful. The memes that would occur all over the internet from that, the king of wishful thinking. Yeah, there you go. The king of thinking.
And the narrative around truth in order to purchase truth, regrettably, is not about truth. It's about increasing the reward, the anticipation, and the uncertainty was the third thing that we haven't talked about right now. Trump is masterful.
Oh, when it came to, are you going to abide by the results of the election? We'll see what happens. It's always the we'll see what happens, right?
It's always we'll see what happens. And people are saying that's an uncertainty sentence. Who people? What people? There's no people. There might be a couple of people, but see, that's all directed to his people. And it's actually where we need herd immunity we need herd immunity from the language of marketing and sales that capitalism has put on our doorstep in the face of a president that is good at branding and marketing. He is a living QVC for politics. He's the next tweet that he's selling.
You're right.
It's the ticking clock to stay in front of. Meanwhile, there's this wave of bankruptcy that's coming behind this character as we're discovering with his taxes and his debt. It's like the only way to get him to go away will be, I swear to God, is to cover all of his debts. That's the only way you're going to get rid of this guy. The only way that the Republicans are going to get a peaceful transition from this guy is for him to be in a back room and he'll say, I'm not going away until my debt is covered with all these golf courses, until all these things are covered, until the money I owe to Russia is paid back. And literally the Republicans are going to make that so. They will pay off his debts.
You think that would happen in a lame duck Congress before the end of the year in order to get him to go away peacefully? That's
the only way. They are literally he is going to bribe them. Art of the deal. He is going to bribe them on paying off his debts, or he is going to say, really, I'm going to call my people forward and they're going to shoot up your polling booth. They're going to make it a mess for you. And because they're so scared of him, of doing that, they are going to give him money to go into peaceful transition. When? I swear to God, when? I'm going to go with January 15 is when he will then say, January 15 and say, you know what? I'm going to resign because here's what he's going to do, because all my debts are being paid and there's no need for me to continue in this job because finally fairness has been met as America. But meanwhile, the American public will not have no idea that they've paid all of his debts off.
Why would he resign January 15th? So that Pence would pardon him from anything? Is that the idea? But the thing is, he can't wait till January 15th to do it. He has to do it in 2020 because the new Congress, as if it flips to Democratic control, the Senate gets installed in the beginning of January. They don't wait till January 20th.
Oh, I'm sorry. So that would be then I need to change my date then. Yeah. So it would be December 15 then. It's going to be
okay. Christmas, right gift. Whenever he essentially concedes the election, it would be because of this, not because of respecting the
I just want everybody to know, and you feel free to call me, and I feel like Lindsey Graham on this one. Feel free to mock my words on this one. Mark my words on this. Between election date and December 15th is going to be the worst time ever.
I agree. It's going to be very painful.
It's going to be really painful between basically we can just make it a nice clean month between November 3rd and December 3rd, rolling into December 15th. It will be so excruciating for us. So excruciating.
It's going to be worse than it was in 2000 with Absolutely. Bush v. Gore. And we know it's coming. In 2000, we had no idea it was coming.
We know this is coming, man. This is going to be excruciating.
Wow.
And the only way he's going to cough it up is to go, because it's really at this point, it's a money thing for him. It's his debt. It's so he doesn't, and he's going to get a complete pardon for all of his crimes, all of them, except for the ones at the state level.
The state level, he can't. Yeah.
Yeah. But those ones for sure. Anyway. All right, Tom, this has been an interesting conversation, huh?
Yeah. I have a feeling we're going to have a few more over the next month. Like this.
Yeah, that's the takeaways. Always remember the takeaways and having awareness that you can always call somebody else on their strategy. And then that'll make it tend to go better.
Wow.
All right.
Okay, Bill. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care, Tom. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to this Purchasing Truth podcast. We trust that you have enjoyed this engaging and thought-provoking conversation. Our hope is that you've received value, found clarity, and broadened your truth perspective in this episode. If you did, leave us a review or visit our website, purchasingtruth.com. Join us again for another informative and content-rich discussion here at the Purchasing Truth podcast. Don't just accept whatever information comes your way. Join the discussion. Discover your own voice. Purchase your own truth.